Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chris Berryman, Coalition Builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. This is our meet and greets time that we do from 2:45 to 3 o'clock. And this is our meet and greet time that we like to be able to get to know each and every single one of you who is jumping on these live streams. So as you see here, my two great colleagues, Sandy Chernoff and Carla Finnegan, they're the host of Sharing Care with Sandy and Humanity Happy Hour done by Carla. Uh, so as you jump on, feel free to comment into the chat where you're jumping on from. Yesterday we actually someone had come from Ireland. That was great. So we're actually in Ireland. Woo-hoo! So we would love to hear from you. And if you're watching this on the replay, be sure to comment with the hashtag replay. And just to let you know, we can have up to about 6 people that actually can join on to the live stream. If you'd like to be able to join, please comment into the chat of this live stream, whether to be here on LinkedIn Live. And this is going to be brand new for us here today. Just want to let you know we're actually streaming live on YouTube right now as we speak. So that's going to be a new thing that we're going to be start doing here every once in a while, try to get more of a better reach out. So we'll be streaming on YouTube today too as well. So if you'd like to be able to get into the green room, I will place it into the comment section here of today's live stream. So you guys can be able to feel free and comment into the chat and say that you want to join in. And we'd love to have you onto the green room and get you onto the live stream. And we have someone monitoring not only the chat of LinkedIn Live, but also on the YouTube. So we'll do our best to answer any questions or concerns you may have, or if you want to bring something up to the conversation. We would love to be able to do that with you today. And this is one of 3 of the open live stream forums that we have under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella, where people can discuss topics related to the workplace, humanity, and humanity in the workplace in a constructive and very positive way. We want to know the issues that are out there from the heartbeat of humanity that people are facing, because of our goal is to work with both employees and employers to bring humanity back into the workforce. And we'll be going live, like I said, with Sharing Care with Sandy on Tuesday, Conversation for Humanity today on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and they'll be all start on at 3 o'clock. And feel free, like I said, invite your friends, family, coworkers, people that you know in your community. We'll love to hear from each and every single one of you, and we would love to hear from you. So how are you ladies doing today?
We're good.
What was that, Carla?
I can hear you, Carla. Turn on your mic. You're muted.
Uh-oh.
Your mic's on. We can't hear you. I don't know why.
Well, we probably have to.
How about that?
That's good.
That'll work. That'll
Okay.
work.
There's only 3 different buttons you can go to, you know? Like, I don't know how that one got pressed. Those darn function keys. Those effing keys. Hey, you know, years ago when computers were big, and like, this must have been in the 90s, I learned how to do all those little special things with function keys on an IBM computer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They didn't have those cute little pictures with the microphone and all that kind of stuff on it.
That we have now. Yeah.
I know. Now we have pictogram.
Yeah. Well, my son still knows how to do all that stuff. Mark is really good with the computer.
Oh yeah.
He's really good at all that mechanical kind of stuff. I mean, one day we got what did we get? I don't know, some kind of machine anyway. My husband and I had the manual out on the floor and we were trying to put together. Mark comes home from school and he goes, "What are you doing?" We're trying to put this together. He didn't use the manual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he had it all done.
Yeah. My son's in IT, so I can understand that. He's my tech guy, and I think I've taught him patience.
Well, I really miss Mark because he's in Toronto, and so I don't have that kind of stuff anymore. My brother's pretty good, though, but right now he's living up at Whistler, so he's not handy either.
Yeah. Well, my son can log into my computer and fix whatever is wrong with it. But.
Well, Dave was very surprised when I moved here that I was actually able to set up my computer myself. He said, "You did it yourself?" I said, yeah, because what I did before I pulled everything apart was I marked everything and where it had to plug in so that when I came here, I knew what to plug in where and so on and so forth. He says, oh, good for you. So he was very shocked because normally I can't do any of that stuff.
Now, see, my husband would unplug everything and move everything and then go, I can't get this to work. And guess who ends up doing it? Me. Yeah.
Well, in our house, I mean, my husband's good with the remote, on the TV. But, as far as anything else is concerned, I can put in a dimmer switch. I can hang a fixture. I can fix the toilet. So anything that I can't fix, we have to get a repair person in here for.
Yeah.
All that stuff just frustrates him. He's not very mechanical. He's very smart, but he's smart, with the things that he knows. Well,
that's not his forte.
No, I mean, he's got a good business background and he's a CA and he's a lawyer and, so all that kind of stuff, but he has no science background and he's just not mechanical.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my dad was good at that stuff. My grandfather was amazing. When my grandfather moved from Montreal to Vancouver, my mother never had a repair person in the house after that because anything that needed fixing, my grandfather came over and fixed it. My mom had a couch in the living room that was kind of cool, and she wanted a matching love seat. So my grandfather came over, he pulled out the couch and he looked underneath it and behind it, and lo and behold, he made her a love seat to match.
Oh, cool.
And then she wanted a new fixture in her dining room, and he made her a fabulous bronze fixture that was just incredible. And he made all her tables in her living room. And one of them actually had a lazy Susan in it, like it would spin.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. My grandfather was incredible. There wasn't anything he could do. And the other thing he did, Carly, you won't believe this. He was good with a sewing machine. And I had some old dresses that, had puffy sleeves and different things. But I liked the fabric and I basically liked the dress. He redesigned them, with spaghetti straps and this kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, talk about an amazing man. He was just so incredible.
So who's the keeper of the remote in your house?
My husband.
Chris, are you the keeper of the remote at your house?
Sadly,
Come
yes.
on. Okay, so we have a Fire Stick. We have YouTube TV, and it's through our internet provider. We do it that way because it's cheaper than going with a dish and stuff. And so my husband scrolls through all the channels. I pick up the thing. I push the little microphone button, and I say, "Watch Home and Garden TV," and it switches the channel. And he's looking at me like, "How in the heck did you do that?" I said, I'm too impatient to scroll through that because you can't, they're not, it's not like Home and Garden is on 17 and the news is on 12 or anything like that, like we're used to, Right. No, you have to scroll through it. And I'm not scrolling towards the end. I just don't have the patience for that. So I just say, watch Home and Garden TV.
Well, Yale's got two remotes because to go from regular TV to Netflix, you have to use the TV remote. Otherwise, he's got sort of a universal remote. So he's got the two remotes. So he does it. I don't do it. I just figured.
Well, our Netflix is on our Fire Stick.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
So it's all in one. So, but you have one remote that's got the power and the volume, and you got the other one for the Fire Stick. So.
Okay, fair enough. Well, he's got one, just specifically for the TV, and one that's general, so it can do, other things. And, when I go to Toronto, my grandsons, especially the older one, he's the one that knows how to use the remote. So if I have a problem, he just comes over and he says, give me that. And he fixes it.
And how old is he?
He's 11.
Yeah.
But he's been able to do that since he was about 6.
Yeah. Yeah. If not 5 or 4. Yeah.
Well, but you know what, Carla? The interesting thing is because kids today grow up with the technology, it is like second nature to them. It's not second nature to people that are old like me because I didn't grow up with all this. I mean, I had a typewriter. I had a portable typewriter that I took to university with me. But of course, our kids took computers to university with them. So it's a whole new world. I did make my kids take typing in high school.
Would you remember when we were in high school and we took typing? And we're like, why are we ever going to be doing this? We're not going to be a secretary. And now that's all we do. We don't write letters anymore.
My mom made me take typing in high school, and I thank her all the time because, with the computer, like my husband, he really should take a typing lesson. He's a hunt and peck typer. So, it takes him a while. I mean, he's learned to copy and paste, and stuff like that for the documents. But sometimes when he's got a lot of documentation, because right now he doesn't have a secretary, he either brings it home and I do it, or I've gone down to the office with him and I'll do it down there because I can type. But, he didn't learn how. So, it's just a matter of what your mother made you do.
I know. Well, my husband will tell you he took typing in high school to check out all the girls.
Oh, jeez.
Perfect.
Really?
That's perfect, Carly. I love it.
He admits it. He says, I took typing in high school to check out all the girls. And that's what the football players did when I was in high school. They took typing because they wanted to check out all the girls.
Fair enough.
It was an easy elective.
Yeah.
Well, see, for me, I didn't get the luxury of doing that because since I'm on special education, I actually had to be kind of confined to my special education classes. So, but when I did take an elective, I ended up having to take shop. So I took shop. So we actually be able to actually work with the machines. You cut the boards and all that kind of stuff. And see, we don't have that kind of stuff anymore. We don't have.
I wanted to do something like that. I would have done something like that. Yeah. I could have learned the home ec at home. My mom already taught me how to cook, and I wanted to take shop, and they wouldn't let me take shop.
Well, when my wife was in high school, she did still have home ec at the time. And she also had computer science courses that she actually was doing stuff in. So she literally had the same teacher for 3 periods.
Wow.
So she would have her home ec, then she would have her English, and then she would actually have the computer science, and it was all done by one teacher.
Wow.
So
we had one teacher, it was our algebra teacher, and he also did geometry too. He had a computer in his office, and it was back in what was it called? When you had like the screen was black and you did codes.
Right.
You didn't have all the logins and stuff that you had now. And he also had, we thought it was so cool, he had a portable phone. And this thing looked like a cooler bag,
And there's my great friend, Brian Sumner.
Well, hello there.
Howdy, howdy.
Nice to see you. We missed you.
You as well. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
We missed you. We like you to be here because you always have a different perspective than the rest of us. We like that, Brian.
Yeah. Hey, another thing.
There's a nasty kind of word that gets in the way that starts with a W, unfortunately.
And it wasn't your wedge.
No.
It wasn't the way.
No.
Unfortunately
not.
Yeah. Well, another thing they don't teach in school is like budgeting and how to spend your money and all that kind of. Well, we used to do like balancing your checkbook. Nobody balances their checkbook anymore. All that kind of thing. How to do your taxes. All that kind of stuff. They don't teach that anymore.
They don't teach in high school that they probably should. I mean, they don't teach them time management. They don't teach them, a lot of things that would be helpful to them. They certainly don't teach them communication skills, and that would certainly be helpful. But, they don't. And it's just, it's a shame. It's really a shame.
Yeah, they don't teach them like conflict resolution, problem solving, any of that kind of thing.
And with all the helicopter parents that are around, a lot of these kids don't know how to do anything because their parents do everything for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I made my kids learn all kinds of things because both of them went away to university and they all went to Ontario, which is, on the other side of the continent. So, I can't help them when they're 5,000 miles away. So, they had to know how to do things on their own.
Yeah.
So, Brian, are you going to bring the unseen and unsaid to us today?
Sure.
What'd you say?
Exactly.
Can you hear me now?
Don said.
Carly, you mentioned they don't teach financial literacy. The university I was at was attempting to make a strong push to teach kids financial literacy. But one of the things that they do is, like you said, is that they teach kids how to save money, but they never teach them how to spend it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a component to that, because, you know, saving is one thing, but if you overdraw your bank account or expense things too much, yeah.
And delayed gratification.
Yeah, you know, even for a business, a small business entrepreneurial venture or just starting out, I mean, it's amazing how often people pay themselves more money than they should take, especially at the very beginning. You know, you have to make some profit, and I'm not against taking profit first and then doing stuff for the business, but you know, a lot of times, you know, I mean, I've seen a startup where they're, or close to a startup, a couple of years, they're paying a couple of their executives $200,000-$300,000, and the business might only make $500,000 or $1 million. You know what I mean? It just, there's an incongruency there that people don't.
Yeah. Don't understand.
Yeah, and they're banking on a huge client or a closing or something, and then that's great one time, but what happens when the client or consumer or customer or supplier goes a different direction, you know, 6 months down the road, then what?
Right.
Yeah. It's, you know, I mean, I taught mergers and acquisitions, and you know, the future value of money or present value of money and a discounted cash flow. I mean, that stuff's a foreign concept for most people.
True.
You know?
Or I run into a lot of people, and there are people that will push this as well as, oh, you need a coach, you need this, that, and the other. And some people spend so much money on a coach and getting ready to be ready that they don't do the do. And then they go, I don't know why I'm not making any money.
That's because most coaching doesn't actually have action involved in it. It's a lot of manifestation, but until you actually take action and bring it into the real world, it really doesn't do much.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, they'll spend thousands of dollars and say, I can write it off. Well, that's all well and good, but if you're not making any money, it doesn't matter how much you spend, you know? Zero is zero, you know?
Oh, that's right. It's a matter of looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah. You know, if you only make 1,000 and you spend 3,000 in coaching, for example, you haven't made any money, and you're just giving away that other 1,000 that you couldn't write off, you know?
Well, we're really proud of our son and daughter-in-law, because our daughter-in-law wanted her mortgage on their house paid off by the time she was 40. And guess what?
Yes.
They did it. They actually did it. They've got a house in Toronto, and it's a big house.
Yeah.
I mean, we helped them. They haven't quite finished paying us off, but they paid off the bank.
Oh, that's good.
They're very close to paying us off.
And mom and dad had a lower interest rate, right?
Well, you know what, Carla, we decided when we had kids that because, you know, real estate in Vancouver is ridiculous. And so is real estate in Toronto. They're both there. They have the highest real estate costs in the country in those two cities. And so we realized that, you know, if our kids were going to have anywhere to live, we were going to have to help them because there just wasn't a choice. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, my daughter-in-law's parents really didn't have a lot of extra money to help them. So when Mark was originally living in Toronto, we helped him buy a condo, and we helped our daughter buy her first condo. And then, you know, from there, he had that as a down payment for the house, and then they needed some extra, so we gave them some more. And we had planned on that. I mean, we put money aside to actually do that because we knew that we were going to have to help them. I mean, when we bought our first house, Gail and I each had some money saved, but then we got a little mortgage from each mother. But we paid them off. I mean, we don't have a mortgage on this place. And in the end, we didn't have mortgages on our houses either for the same reason, because Yale, I mean, he's really good at managing money. And, you know, it just, Kim's dad told us that Kim has managed her money from the time she was about 5 years old. Something she always liked to do was count her pennies and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So he wasn't the least bit surprised that she had set that goal and that she actually met it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We think it's great. Well, they're doing very well, both of them. I mean, they both make six figures, believe it or not. So you know, if they've got,
in some markets you need that. I know my daughter is living in Washington D.C. and she spends $3,000 a month in her lease, and she's got a 1-bedroom apartment.
yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, my word.
I mean, it's so stupid. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but what can you do? And it's just so hard for young people, even young people making good money. They can't buy a property because it's just so expensive, you know. Like, I'm living in a 2,000 square foot townhouse, okay, in a complex. Do you know what these things go for?
Couldn't even imagine.
Over $2 million.
Oh my God.
And they sell within a few days of going on the market. Because these are old, and because they're old, the rooms are large. I have house-sized rooms here. I mean, the first time my sister came over, she said, "This is like a house." I said, "I know." I didn't have to buy new furniture. You know, a lot of times when you leave a house and you go into a condo, the rooms are so small that you have to get new furniture. I have actually more furniture in the living room of this townhouse than I had in my previous 4,000 square foot house, because this living room is big. I have the same bedroom furniture in our bedroom upstairs, and I mean, I've got a full-size dining room. I have a table that seats 10, and I have a hutch and a dry bar and 2 sculpture stands in my dining room. You know, it's just, it's an incredible, the room sizes are very large.
Wow.
It makes it so nice. You can replace these townhouses. I mean, you can buy other townhouses that are newer, but you can't replace the size of these. And that's why they sell so quickly.
Oh, I
and
bet.
as soon as people come in, you know, they go, "Wow, you know, like my front hall is 2 stories high, and I've got floor to ceiling artwork and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And it's really, and it's got a big skylight in it. You know, we have a lot of light here because there's big skylights and lots of big windows, and it's really nice. And they're all brick, so it's pretty soundproof.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just, they're very, very nice. They were very well built, and they've been well maintained. So, you know, it's a very good place to live. And that's why these places sell like this. I'm not kidding you. It goes on the market, and within a week they're gone.
Yeah. Wow.
And because people know this, you know, they know this complex. This complex is interesting. It has 2 townhouse stratas and 2 apartment buildings in it. So it's quite a big property. Oh,
all right.
We miss Graham, Brian. We miss Graham. We wish he was still around. He's busy with other stuff, right?
He's doing some other stuff. I talked to him through chat. We had a Zoom call the other day or last week. We chatted. We caught up for a little while. He's doing well.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Good.
Glad to
So,
hear that.
Melinda, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Glad that you're here. So, Brian, what is unseen and what is unsaid?
The very basic notion of what's unsaid is all of the background context that people bring to their life. All the things that they're addicted to, like being right, looking good,
I'm good,
not embarrassing themselves, having the right answers, you know, telling people you know what you know and what you don't know.
I'm great.
You know, it could be anything from the wrongs that you've had in your life, things that make you upset. These contexts come from a place of experience, or at least a distorted experience that we all have in the world. And the problem with them is that they don't allow for new clear experiences to come into play. It's almost as if the cup is already full and you have no space for anything new, because you look at the world a certain way and you say that's the way it is, and you don't have anything else new to consider. And in the workplace, it's really critical because you can see it. It's you walk into an office or a building or a plant or whatever environment, and you can see how other people occur for one another. And it's really quite interesting because if you watch body language and pay attention to people, it's pretty obvious after a while that people have a background context that they bring with them wherever they go. It's how they listen, it's how they talk, it's how they interact with people, it's how they consume visual media, written media, it's anything. So, this unsaid is really the problem with it. And there's other components, though, that go with the unsaid. There's a term called rackets. It's kind of a 4-part entity. And people have a persistent complaint in their life, in the workplace or otherwise. And from that persistent complaint, there's a behavior associated with it that goes along with that persistent complaint. The third component of the racket, though, and this is where the unsaid is really kind of critical for people, is that people get a payoff from it. We view the world as wrong, or our work environment is wrong, or our bosses or leaders are bad at what they do. We can create that context, and in a sense, what we're saying is they can't dominate us. I'm better than they are. And we get a payoff by making them right and us wrong. But there's a cost associated with that. If I make someone else right and me wrong, and I devalue myself or whatnot, my perception, I don't work as hard. I'm not as engaged. I'm not as interested. So, a lot of this stuff in the workplace, though, and whether you want to term it any way you want, toxic environments, good environments, bad environments, or whatever, they're all manifestations of our point of view. We all put together a point of view about everything. We create it. No one else does. The external world doesn't create a point of view for us. Okay? Circumstances have nothing to do with our point of view. It's all to do with how that point of view occurs to us. We're the generators or creators of that point of view. Chris, as we've talked about, if you walk into an office and you have a meeting with a boss, and that boss doesn't occur as approachable to you, you're going to respond exactly as they occur to you, not approachable. But imagine if they did approach you and they came to you and they came in a way that was approachable. You would have a different interaction with them. But it has nothing to do with the person. It has all to do with what you say about the person. So, it's kind of interesting. We term these traits and qualities and descriptions of people, and they're all just kind of made up stories about what it is that we think we're seeing. There's something like 40 million bits of information hit our subconscious and unconscious every second. Our conscious brain can only process upwards of 40 of them at a time. So we have the ability to choose what we pay attention to. So even if we're seeing someone and interacting with them, we only see a very tiny, tiny portion of who we think they are. But that what we think we're seeing is created. If someone is fearful about something or someone else, that's just a story about some other time. It's usually something about our future. Fear is just false evidence appearing real. And that's ultimately what it is. It's just a story. It doesn't make it real. That doesn't mean that you don't have visceral reactions or emotional reactions to things. But those events or those emotions that are tied to those events are just things that you haven't cleared up. I mean, you didn't get the learnings from whatever happened. So that's something that's between you and your context, if you will. But if you're looking at performance and you're looking at the unsaid, another way to consider it is you drive in a car. There's a blind spot in your car. No matter what you do, you can't see it. Now, obviously, you put little mirrors and things to help you. But if you notice, that's where all the accidents tend to come from, right? A place that you didn't even consider, something you didn't see. Because people don't talk about how other people occur for them in the workplace, not in front of them at least.
Yeah.
And maybe that's partially due to the environment, partially due to the culture of the company. Maybe that's the person. But we tend to look at people in kind of a strange way. We look at them through the perception of how we think they should be. as opposed to how they actually are. And until you get clear with how someone is, just how they are, you can't be with who they are, because we can only be with them through the situation or the lens that we've created about it. You know, I see a lot of people talking about the workplace should be, people should do this, we need to do this, we have to respect this, blah, 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 all the wonderful things that we should be telling others what to do. The problem with that, though, is that we don't actually get a clear sense of how they are. And it's not to say that they're bad, good, or indifferent, but the judgment supersedes what we're actually experiencing from someone. I mean, imagine dealing with someone from the context that they're doing the best they can with what they have, right? It's their reality, which you can create as the reality. You don't have to buy into it, but you also don't have to make them wrong for having their viewpoint. And I think there's a lot of that in the workplace. There's a lot of that in society. But the media is very good at doing that, and that's what the media does, is it gives you two options and nothing else. Outside of that dichotomy, there's, you know, unlimited numbers of possibilities, but most people don't think outside of the dichotomies that you're given. So, you know, there's a lot of things, Chris, in the workplace that you've been bringing up in the last year or so about bringing humanity. And one of the first things that I told you when you said that the workplace doesn't have humanity is, of course it has humanity. It just doesn't have humanity in the way in which you describe it. That doesn't mean that humanity doesn't exist. Like, last I checked, fish don't go to the workplace very often. You know, we're all bringing our humanity. It just means that you don't like what you see, feel, or experience. But that's between you and your interpretation of it. That has nothing to do with the workplace. Now, that doesn't mean that workplaces couldn't be better or improve upon certain things or treat people well or not well and so forth. But we've had that conversation as well about the job and the purpose of the job. But, you know, the occurring or unsaid is just really what we don't recognize. It's things that we don't even recognize have an influence on us. All my interpretations, I'm biased, as is everyone else. Everyone else is just as biased as I am. We have a background that tells us that the world is this. And that unsaid, things that we don't talk about in the workplace that we bring with us, have an impact on our performance, has an impact on how we interact with people. You know, the game is, can you catch when you start going down that path and don't go there? You know, we often ask employees and coworkers and managers to treat us well. Great. You ever consider treating them well? Like, why is it their responsibility to treat us well? Like, as I said before, if you look around the room and you don't find the asshole, it's probably, right? Exactly. I mean, it's one of those things that we're cause in this, and what we say and what we do can impact other people. And what others say and do can impact us if we allow it to. But my point is, we have a choice to be and act as we choose to see fit. If it works for us, work for us. But anything that we add to it, subtract, manipulate, change, you know, a simple question of, you know, can you get me something or can you help me with something, doesn't necessarily mean it was done with bad intentions or good intentions or, you know, it just is. You know, if you add something to it, your interpretation, that's between you, right? Chris, you had mentioned a story, I think it was a week or so ago, about a truck was late at work and the person had to wait. And someone said, well, it's not their responsibility that the truck's not late. Maybe that's true, but at the same time, it's a job, and that's what your job is. Like, you could still be paused and take responsibility that, no, it's my job to be here for the truck. It's not someone else's job. Why would I give it to someone else? That's not their responsibility. So we have a choice of how things show up for us in the workplace. And unfortunately, what I see a lot of people do is that they point fingers somewhere else and say it's their problem. I see a lot of things on social media with people who get banned from social media or their accounts get closed. And a couple of days later, someone posts, oh, this person got banned and all hell's breaking loose and support, they need to be back. No, the algorithm's wrong, LinkedIn's wrong, oh, it's a conspiracy. You know what I've never seen? I've never once seen someone say, you know what? Maybe what they posted there was inappropriate and people didn't want to see it. They never take responsibility that maybe they're the ones that actually created something. Like you can go about the workplace by being direct and straight with people, but you don't have to be, hey, I'm just saying the way I'm saying it because that's what I am. Okay. Well, communication is what you intend. So, Chris, it's just kind of, it's a matter of just paying attention. Start recognizing that you're biased, I'm biased, everyone on the call is biased, people are listening, we're all biased to some extent. We have backgrounds, and we bring them with us wherever we go. The game is that you don't have to buy into it at any given moment. You can if you want. That's up to you. I mean, if you want to be upset and be a victim for the rest of your life, go right ahead. Have at it. If you want to complain and say the work environment's toxic and managers are awful and capitalism is the evil of everything, go ahead. Have at it. Enjoy your life.
You also have the choice of whether you're going to stay in that environment or not.
Yeah. You don't have to stay.
No one asks. No, if you don't like where you are, no one's asking you to stay. But
you have two choices. I mean, you can leave because you don't like it. You can shift the context to maybe make it be a little different for you where it could work. Yep. Or you could just resign yourself and say, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm a victim. And, why does this happen to me? Right. Chris, it's the story I told you about. I had a family member who had cancer, and the individual had passed away, but the widow husband had mentioned that they chose cancer when they found out about it, as opposed to deciding and saying, why us? Why did this happen to us? And being a victim, they chose that this is what it is. I accept this. This is it. And they choose to move from there. I mean, it's similar to the conversation we had the other day. People are always looking for, when I become, I'll be happy. When I have this, I'll be happy. When I make enough difference in the world. You ever realize it never happens, though? You never make enough difference. You're never happy enough. You never have enough of anything.
If you're not happy with an unfound $100, you're not going to be happy with $1 million.
The unconscious isn't programmed that way. It's always searching for more.
Yeah.
And the mind isn't designed that way. It's something like 80% of our thoughts that come through our mind a day are negative.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of starting to recognize that you can create it how you want it to be. Mm-hmm. And when I got really clear a while ago that this is it, this is how it's turned out, life has turned out, this is it, it's not going backwards, it's only moving forward at some level, and I have a choice. I can be upset and pissed off for the rest of my life that I'm not playing professional golf for a living, or I'm not a NASA astronaut, or I'm not a millionaire, or I'm not the CEO of a company, or whatever it is. Okay? You can be upset about that, go ahead. But recognize that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be based on all the things that have come before. And you can move from there. It's just a different contextual point of view, Chris, but understanding that you have an unsaid, and that unsaid for most people, there's a payoff associated with it, right? And then there's a cost, but the cost is really where people don't recognize. employees don't necessarily always recognize that they view their workplace a certain way and they lose productivity or so forth. But maybe if they had a different contextual opportunity, they might. But it's interpretation all the way down. I mean, it's made up. We're just making it all up as we go. It's, you know, filtered and distorted and so forth.
So Melinda, what's your thoughts on what Brian's presenting today?
Are you muted?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a lot of echoing. Is that supposed to happen twice?
I'm not hearing an echoing.
I'm not hearing nothing.
You don't hear it now, but when he's talking, it's like two times.
Mm-mm.
Do you have LinkedIn on or something on in the background? It might be picking up a.
Hold on 1 second. No, I don't have anything else on. It's just LinkedIn.
I'm not hearing it. No, I'm on LinkedIn.
No, I didn't have echoing. I'm sorry, not just like you hear back what he's saying twice.
I'm not hearing it.
No.
Not now.
Yeah. No, I wasn't even hearing it before.
Throughout the whole conversation, it was going. Now it stopped.
You had a triple effect, Brian.
Believe me, I can only listen to myself once. I can't imagine you guys having to listen to me 3 times.
I don't know. It's just my side, I guess, it's hitting me.
So what's your thoughts, Melinda?
Okay. Okay.
We would love to hear from.
Well, I agree with Brian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Can I speak now?
Yes. We'll wait on you.
Yes, I agree with Brian about the workplace and dynamics that he was just explaining. Like, if you don't like it there, I mean, what's the point of staying somewhere if you don't feel comfortable? It's not working out for you, and other whatever, all this adding up to making you feel it's time to take a change. So I do agree with him completely.
Well, a lot of times, from past experience, it's easy to get sucked into that negative spiral if other people in the workplace are negative. And then once you kind of step out from that and start, you know, maybe you're looking at other options or something, and then you kind of get away from those people for a while and you start analyzing what you're doing and why you're thinking the way that you're thinking, you may realize that those people are the ones that are dragging you down and you're just jumping on the negativity wagon. Whereas you could possibly make an impact in having a positive attitude. And then, of course, at the same time, you can always evaluate leaving or not. You know, it's better to look for a job when you have a job, you know, rather than when you don't have one. But, you know, it would be hard to just say, oh, to hell with it, I'm out of here because this place is so negative. And then get away from those people for a week or so and realize that they were the ones that were being negative. And had you not been allowing them to draw you in, you might have actually enjoyed your job.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to separate sometimes, Carla, like you said.
It is. Mm-hmm.
You don't recognize that you're there.
Yeah. I was in a job once where one of the medical assistants, I swear, was at the top of her job description to make everybody's day miserable. And I wouldn't play her game because I thought, I'm not going to let you drag down my day. You know, I will interact with you professionally and as politely as I can. But, you know, I was not going to be around to allow her to sabotage anything that I did or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
And she ended up getting fired when I was on vacation. So it got to be that, hey, Carla's going on vacation. Who's going to be next? You know, but I could, after, you know, several years of dealing with people like this, you can smell that a mile away. And I'm sorry, I'm a grown up in the room and I'm not going to play those kind of games. I don't get into that. I don't get into gossip. I don't get into negativity. You know, somebody goes negative, I'm saying, so what are we going to do to fix it? You know,
it's fascinating how we project onto others. You know, people want other people negatively around them because it makes them look the same. But if you're positive and happy and doing your thing, it shines a light on how terrible their life is and all the things they should have done or how badly they are. And I remember a conversation between a couple of professors when I was working. And one was trying to do stuff and build a program and do things. And one of the professors across his way said, "Stop doing so much. You're making us all look bad."
Oh, I've heard that before.
Like, usually your thing, like, it's easy. You don't have to work very hard. It's like,
yeah, I've heard
it's
that
almost
before.
like, people, but it's not even just coworkers. Family members do the same thing. Close friends, you know, don't go there because you might hurt yourself. You know, they have your good intentions, but it actually does more harm than good.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Brian, because I even have family members today, still today, mind you, that says that I am not going to make this business into a reality because of what I've done in the past. They say, well, you don't have the intestinal fortitude to move forward. You just don't have the willingness to take the steps forward. You don't have none of that. You don't have no gumption, whatever. They always bring that negativity because they knew what I was then in comparison to what I am now. So they're still living in the past.
Time to prove them wrong.
Something.
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen. We're going to do it.
At the same time, Chris, maybe they're right. Maybe people don't have the fortitude. I mean, you either have results or you don't have results. I mean, it's one of two things. And I'm not saying you do or you don't. You know, but yeah, you're right. People tend to have a very myopic view of other people.
Oh, my brother's been jealous of me for 40 years because I did something with my life. And he went down his own path, you know, but it's not my fault.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's that's their issue.
I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't do anything with his life. He's got his own business now and he's successful with it, but and I don't know why, he's still very competitive. And I'm like, I'm not playing this competitive game, you know?
Yeah.
Sandy, your thoughts?
I just have no patience for negativity, Chris. It's something that I've never had patience for. I don't like being around people who are negative, and I don't view the world that way. I always think there are solutions to things, and you need to step back and try and figure out what they are. And if you do that, you'll find a solution, and then you can move on, and you know, things can be positive. I just have no patience for that sort of view of the world, because to me, life is too short. You know, in the big picture, that's your life. So if you're not enjoying it and you're not doing things that are positive for yourself and for your immediate family and so on and so forth, what the heck are you doing? I mean, the only job I ever left was that one dental job where the guy was horrible. Everybody else, okay, sometimes there were, you know, difficult things. We would sit down and we would discuss it and we would deal with it. But this guy was just not a person that you could sit down and discuss anything with because he wasn't interested. And again, you can't make people do things they don't want to do. And he wasn't willing to change or fix anything. And it just wasn't fun working in that office. And I really feel life is too short not to be having fun. And therefore, in the other offices I worked in, we always had fun. Yes, it's a serious business in dentistry, but it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the people you're working with and enjoy your patients and find ways to find positivity in the things that you're doing, which in all the other practices I was in, we always did. So, you know, this was just a huge difference. And I was just so uncomfortable there. that I couldn't stay because it was making me crazy. And I was having trouble sleeping and all sorts of things that I'd never had trouble doing before. And it was just because he was so nasty and to everyone and even to patients. I mean, we had a lot of patient complaints.
Such a bad experience for your patients too.
Yeah, I mean, it was horrible, Carla. So, you reach a point where, okay, enough is enough. Sorry, we're done here. Because I think that it's very important in the workplace for people to have positivity. And yes, stuff happens. I mean, nobody's life is a long, straight, smooth road. It just doesn't work that way. But it's a matter of what do you do with the challenges and the obstacles and so on and so forth that are thrown in your path. Well, if you give up, whatever. But if you stand back and you go, okay, well, we have a little problem here. Let's see what we can do. Or sometimes if you can't solve it, there's nothing wrong with getting some help. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you think there's somebody else who can help you with this or might be able to solve it better than you, whatever, there's nothing wrong with that either. It doesn't make you look weak. It just means that you're going to find a solution to this and you couldn't do it. So you're going to talk to somebody who you think has more experience with it. And all of us are the result of our life experience, our upbringing and the experiences we've had in different aspects of our life. And that's why we view the world the way we do. And you're absolutely right, Brian. I mean, it's definitely true. It depends on the experiences we've had that formulates how we look at things and how we view the world. And that's okay, but everybody's different. And we just need to accept people for who they are and what they are. And sometimes when you know that somebody is going to do certain things, because they always do, so you just step back and let them do it. I mean, who cares? It's got nothing to do with you. It's their problem. But, if people are always negative and nasty and depressing, then we don't want to be around those people. I prefer to be around people who are generally happy and positive and have a brighter outlook on life. Sometimes you can't help yourself. Sometimes you just have to be around some of these people. If I have to, I try to do it for a very short period of time. But, most of my friends and even, most of my family, we all look at things in a positive way. We think there are solutions to things, that there are things that can be worked out. Yes, this isn't a very good thing. Okay, well, what can we do? I mean, and that was always how my parents dealt with things. And that's what we always did with our kids. Sit down and figure it out. You need help? Okay, what do you need help with? I mean, it's just a matter of what are you teaching your kids and what did your parents teach you and how are you dealing with things? And there's lots of people out there in the world who are positive and who are happy and who enjoy life. And why not spend time with them? How hard is this? Why do we have to be with people who are unhappy and negative and nasty? I mean, I always tell people it's just as easy to be nice as it is to be nasty. Why do you have to be nasty? I mean, it's not that big a deal. And it's a matter of just thinking about what you're saying and what you're doing and how it's going to affect the people that are around you. What's wrong with thinking about it? We can think. We're human beings. We have a brain. We're supposed to be using it. It's just a matter of what are we doing? And there's good in everybody. I mean, I grew up with a grandfather and I was very close to my dad's dad. And my grandfather's view of the world was there are no bad boys and no bad girls. He said, if you look for the good in people and you focus on the good in people, it's the old story, what goes around comes around. So it's a matter of be good, be nice, and you'll get it back. But people who are not nice and nasty and everything, well, who wants to be around them? And it tends to make you want to be nasty back. I mean, I know that's not probably the right reaction, but it makes people uncomfortable. So why would we do that? I'd rather have fun. I'd rather be laughing. I'd rather be having a nice time rather than being uncomfortable and waiting to get, hit with some nasty remark. Like, who needs it? It's so unnecessary. And there's good in everybody. Everybody has skills and, good traits and different things and different abilities that are good. Why not recognize those things and help them to develop them so that they can fulfill a potential that's there? And, that's really what leaders and managers should be doing with their people. And it's what parents should be doing with their kids.
Yeah, it's amazing. A friend of mine said there's some people they work with and people they know that, they wake up grumpy on one side of the bed and they stay that way for a decade. They're just some people who just go through life that way. It shows up to them, it occurs to them in a real downtrodden way.
It's sad. It's very, very sad that you go through life like that. I'm sorry.
And fear, the amount of fear people live their life with. I mean, it's only gotten exacerbated because of the manipulation and propaganda that the media and healthcare industry have perpetuated over the last year and a half. But I mean, it's just the amount of fear. It's shocking.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a scary virus because it's mutating like crazy, and the mutations seem to be a lot worse than the original virus. But, you know, if people follow the quote unquote rules, there's no reason why you can't be safe. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why you can't be safe. It's just a matter of paying attention to what you should be doing. Don't go anywhere without a mask. I have them everywhere. I have one in my purse. I have them in the coat pockets of my coats. I have them in my car. You know, I have masks everywhere. And, you know, generally speaking, if we go out somewhere, if we're walking in a residential area, I don't necessarily put on a mask because you don't run into a lot of people. But if we're in a commercial district, we always wear a mask because there's a lot more people walking on the streets and so on. But it's just a matter of, what are you doing? I mean, you know, it's not that hard if you follow the rules. And again, you shouldn't be interacting with tons of people because you don't know who they've interacted with. And you know, this virus can be asymptomatic, and you could be interacting with someone who actually has the virus. They don't realize they're shedding it, and that's how you could get it. So it's a matter of keeping your bubble reasonably small. And yes, you can stay in touch with people just like we are now. You know, you can use Zoom, you can use Skype, you can use FaceTime, you can talk on the phone, you can send emails, you can do what I do. I was telling Chris that one of the things that we do sometimes when we go on a walk, I take my phone, and if we go into a neighborhood where we have friends, so on the sidewalk, I phone them and I say, hey, we're on the sidewalk in front of your house. Come out on your porch and we'll have a visit. And so we do. You know, we can socially distance because we're on the street, they're on their porch, and we can have a visit, and they love it because, you know, they're not seeing a lot of people either. And this is a way that we can have a little visit with some of our friends that we don't necessarily want to get close together with because we don't know who they're interacting with. We don't know who's in their bubble, so to speak. But this
I take the complete opposite approach.
Okay, what do you do?
Oh, I mean, I'm out in public. I've been out in public ever since March. Eat out at restaurants. I wear a mask as little as possible. I'm around people. Don't really have any qualms about it. But you know.
Yeah, but see, Brian, the difference between you and me is you're young. I'm not.
I'm not proposing that you should be doing or I should be doing. I'm just saying we have different views of it. So I'm not trying to tell you how to go about it.
We don't go into restaurants, but we've ordered food from restaurants. And the only place I go in is to the grocery store. And when I go into the grocery store, I wear a mask and I have hand sanitizer and, you know, whatever. But I do that about once a week. I do go in and go grocery shopping because we need to. But, you know, it's just a matter of what are we doing? And if you're putting yourself at risk on a regular basis, then you have a greater chance of possibly contracting the virus. But if you are, you know, taking care of yourself, then there's no reason to be scared. I mean, we don't need to be scared, but it's a matter of paying attention to what you should do to keep yourself safe and your loved ones safe and so on. I mean, what happened, for example, in Toronto is my daughter-in-law's parents used to spend a lot of time with our grandsons, and they live about 10 minutes from them. But once the boys went back to school, because there were so many outbreaks in the school, they don't see them anymore. They FaceTime with them and they Skype with them and they talk to them on the phone, but they don't go to their house, and Mark and Kim don't take the boys to their house. So it's sort of, I think it's really sad. I mean, we're so far away, I can't be with the boys, but we Skype with them every week. And because it's Passover right now, we did our Seder on Zoom, which my son ran. It's very funny. I mean, Yale and I sat here where we're sitting right now, and we had our plate of matzah and our glass of wine and our prayer book. And Mark would assign reading and, you know, to everybody that was around his table. And because Kim's parents were there and her brother and his girlfriend and our daughter and, you know, and us. And so it was sort of like we were all together, but we're not. We're far away. But it's okay. At least we could, you know, share the experience using the technology that we have today. It's not the same as being in the same room and doing it together, but it's the best we can do right now. And that was fine. He did it last year too. And, you know, it's just a matter of what can you do? You have to do the best you can do and still stay safe. I feel sorry for Kim's parents that, you know, they really can't be with the boys right now because her father in particular is very scared. He has some serious health problems, and if he got this virus, it would probably be really terrible. And I think that's why Stephen is so nervous about exposing himself to anything. And, you know, that's understandable. We get it. But,
Yes.
and, you know, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, my husband he's upstairs right now. He's old. Okay, so, and he's a male. Well, he's 81, Carla. He'll be 82.
Well, I laugh because my husband's 10 years older than I am. He's 72 and I'm 62. So.
Okay. Well, I'm 73. So like I said, Brian, we're old. So it's a different.
My parents are both turning 80, and my daughter spends nights there. She has a sleepover tomorrow night. She had a bunch of her friends came over the weekend, parents, couple parents. We had an Easter egg hunt. Yeah.
Well, you know, my dad is 87, and I asked him if he was going to get vaccinated, and he goes, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. And I'm thinking, well, you know what?
It's a Lisa yell.
He's an adult, and he can decide what he wants to do.
Exactly. I mean, we got our first vaccine on last Thursday.
Well, I'm holding out for the single if I get mine. And the only thing that's going to that I'll probably consider doing is my daughter's moving to Switzerland, and so when Mama wants to go skiing, and I need to fly, I'm gonna get vaccinated.
Okay.
Right.
Priorities.
We got
That's my push point. Yeah.
We got the Moderna vaccine because, you know, you don't really have a choice. You just go where they tell you to go and whatever they had there. And it was actually a doctor that gave us the shot. It was kind of interesting.
That's scary.
Well, he's an ICU doctor at one of our local hospitals, and he said he had the week off, so he volunteered to give some of the shots. You know, that's fine. I mean, he was very nice. It wasn't really my turn because I'm young, and I wasn't really supposed to even phone and make an appointment till the day after I got my shot. But anyway, I went with you, and we're sitting at the table, and the doctor says to me, "So, are you getting a shot too?" And I said, well, I don't have an appointment, but I'd really like to get it. He said, well, there have been a couple of cancellations today. He said, so I've got extra vaccine. I'll give you the shot. So
I have a doc friend of mine that I used to work with. He moved to Alabama, and now he's out in Texas. And he was so much fun to work with. He came up to me one day, and I was drawing blood on somebody. I did everything. And he goes, do you want me to do something for you? I said, yeah, you want to draw some blood? He goes, you don't want me drawing blood. Okay, fair enough. No.
Well, I mean, when I was working in dentistry, the dentists used to get the flu vaccines, like they would get it, and they would give it to all of us, and they give it to each other because patients would come into the office sick. Like, what the heck are you doing here?
They're coughing and hacking and going, I thought about canceling my appointment, but I really need to get my teeth checked. Yeah.
I mean, really? So that's why, you know, they wanted to make sure that we all had the flu shot, because otherwise we were all going to be sick with these people coming in so sick. So, I mean, we've always gotten the flu shots, but you know, this is a whole different thing. This is just something that I think, you know, whoever can get a shot should probably get a shot, because again, it doesn't guarantee you won't get the virus.
Right.
That's not the guarantee, but if you do get it, you will get a much milder version of it because you've already got some antibodies from the vaccine.
So Chris, as you listen, Chris, you notice there, based on how the particular situation shows up for people, everybody has a different behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So the ultimate aspect of it is it has nothing to do with the situation. It has all to do with how that situation is perceived, which is a product of us, not it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
You see, Brian, as healthcare providers, Carla and I have a pretty good idea of what happens with this kind of stuff. And it's the reason why I personally think it's very important for people to get vaccinated. I just think it's, quote unquote, safer. That's all.
Well, I never got the H1N1 when it went around.
No, I didn't either.
I don't even think that they were offering it to healthcare providers. They were offering it to patients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, you know, you have to look at sort of the bigger picture to a certain degree. And yeah, you know, and that's one of the reasons why right now the biggest upsurge in cases is young people, because they all think that they're invincible and that they won't get it. So they can get together in groups and not socially distance, not wear masks. And in the meantime, they're getting the virus, and some of them are actually dying, which is really sad.
Mhm.
So it's a matter again of what are we doing? And you know what they did today? They closed down Whistler. It's closed.
Oh,
Wow.
They had so many cases up there, and they decided they really didn't get a handle on it. So the resort is closed. And woman was interviewed because she said the same thing happened last year. As soon as we got up here for spring break, they closed the resort.
oh man.
Upset.
We're
Well, I heard that
full steam ahead in Florida.
the Miami was crazy for spring break.
Yes, I saw
Well,
that.
it depends on who you consider came down for spring break.
Yeah.
They weren't spring breakers,
Yeah.
and yeah, for a couple of nights it was a little wonky in South Beach, but yeah, they weren't your traditional, typical spring breakers.
I thought South Beach was always wonky.
It is, but this was a bit more wonky than normal, apparently.
Wonkier.
Yeah, no, it's a ways away. It's an hour or so away from me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all perception. My husband had the virus for Thanksgiving, and we didn't know it. And the three of myself, my son, and his girlfriend, we never got it, and we all tested negative.
So I was out several weeks ago, a month or so ago, with a person at a business meeting, and he was out with some coworkers, and I had 3 or 4 coworkers, and 3 of them tested positive. He tested negative. He was the only one drinking a beer.
That's what it is.
So hey,
Yeah.
how's that for medical research?
Yeah.
Well,
That's very funny.
Well, I do believe that you do have to make sure that you're taking care of your immune system through how you're eating and how you're treating yourself and getting plenty of sleep and that kind of stuff, because your overall health does play a part in it. And all the people that are dying from it all have the comorbidities of being overweight, morbidly obese, hypertensive, and diabetic.
I know a couple of motorcycle accidents were thrown into that mix too.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, it's just, again, there are people with different kinds of medical issues that make them more vulnerable to this. And when they get it, it's more deadly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of, again, taking care of yourself and realizing. And again, I mean, I'm a cancer survivor, so that makes me a little bit more vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and again, like I said, Brian, I'm old. I mean, it just is what it is. There's nothing I can do about that. But in general, I'm pretty healthy because I'm very fit. And
You're very active.
The only medications I take vitamins. I take B12 and I take vitamin D and I take some calcium, and that's all because I'm old. And I don't take any meds per se, in terms of medications. I don't have a heart problem. I don't have kidney problems. I don't have any other issues. And so I'm not concerned from that perspective. But, it's a matter of, you got to examine yourself and see what your weaknesses are and what makes you more vulnerable. I mean, I was telling Chris that my daughter, even though she's young, she's very vulnerable. Why? She's only 45. She's a cancer survivor. She has asthma, and she's had heart surgery. So as a young person, she would be very vulnerable to this. She's had a shot. She's had a vaccine. And she also went and got tested, and she was negative. But she's been very careful because she knows that if she got it, it would be pretty difficult.
Uh-huh.
She's got to protect herself. And so she's also kept her bubble small.
Well, I was talking to somebody the other day, 2 people actually. One of them actually came down to Atlanta, and there's a lake north of Atlanta, Lake Lanier, and she was coming down from Michigan for a training session. And, it wasn't too far from me, and she was telling me, where she was staying and asking me different places where, like, she could go out and do sit at, like Starbucks is closed, but like Panera, she could go to Panera and do her training. And So I was talking to her, and I gave her some points of reference and stuff, and I was asking her about the place she was staying, and it was somebody higher up in the chain, their lake house. It was worth a couple of $1 million, and what did you go out anywhere? And she goes, oh no, I didn't go out anywhere. I just stayed there. I didn't want to be exposed to those germs. And I'm thinking, Michigan airport, a flight, the Atlanta airport, transportation, and you're going to go and sit in a house, you know? And then there was somebody else that was saying that they were going to go down to, they're planning a girls' trip in July, and they were going to go to Orlando. And I said, so what are you going to do? She goes, well, we've rented a place. And so you're going to go out and sightsee or whatever? No, we're just going to hang around the pool. We don't want to go out and get exposed to germs. And I'm thinking, you're going to the airport, you live in your house, you're going to the airport, you're going through the airport, you're on a plane, getting off the plane, traveling to this one stop, you're paying thousands of dollars for a girls' trip to sit in a pool somewhere. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
It was just, okay.
It's amazing how much fear guides people's lives.
Oh, I chose to not live in fear a long time ago, about a year ago.
Yes.
I mean, it's, you know, in the workplace or otherwise, it's just, you know, but as I told you, Chris, fear is not real. It's just a thought about some other time that may or may not happen. And you project something out and you shrink your life. You know, you shrink, we
play right into it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all these concepts and these buzzwords in business of, you know, show up big, play big, take risks. You know, imagine if people actually live their life with less fear than they actually do. Mm-hmm. You know, it's that true. Notion where people say, oh, I'm giving 110%.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, if you say so. My guess is you probably give 80 and you're now giving 95, but it feels like 110%.
Yeah.
Most people don't take action in their business or anything they're doing out of fear. And just imagine how productive you could be without that fear. But I will still not go to this thing and have somebody wrap a snake around my neck. I'm sorry, that's honest fear. There is a line. There's something I will not do.
There are certain phobias that people have, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
Well, I want to leave us with this great words of wisdom from the CEO and chairman of WD-40, and it really resonated with me. And if you can believe it, he actually is a connection of mine now. His name is Gary Ridge, and he said this in one of his posts, and I thought it was just really well written and just to the point, and it's really, really resonating with me. And I wanted to share with you guys today on it. The primary responsibilities as we have as leaders is to be teachers. When our team members thrive, we thrive. And when I saw that, I was just like, that's amazing. That is truly amazing to such an extent that we can be able to do that. So here it is. That's everybody can to see on the live stream. Like I said, the primary responsibilities as we have as leaders are to be teachers. When our team members thrive, we thrive. And like I said, when I saw that, ladies and gentlemen, that was just phenomenal. What are your thoughts?
It's good to live by, especially for business. But it's even,
that's a great mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wonderful mindset to live by with work. Yes.
And even works.
Why are we asking leaders to teach us?
Depends.
Why are we asking leaders to teach us anything? I mean, the notion of teaching is I have the answers, you don't. I'm going to now give you the answers so you can spit them back and parrot them back.
So the way I look at it, I agree with you. It's kind of like what this quote says to me is the basics, but I don't agree that I've got the I don't believe I have the answers and I'm going to teach you. If you don't have what I tell you, you're nothing. We have to, especially in what I do in health and wellness and help develop people to help others in health and wellness, I give you the tools to help yourself. We give you a duplicatable system. We give you the resources, and you have a responsibility to learn yourself. You cannot just sit there and wait for somebody else to do it. And in work, in a job, a lot of people expect their managers to tell them exactly what it is that they need to do, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Instead of taking the initiative and saying, where's the guide? I'm going to improve myself and I'm going to know what to do.
Yeah. And if you don't know, to Sandy's point, ask.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I guess, Chris, the long answer, the short answer is I always find it odd that we give these, we put people on pedestals as if they know something we don't. And then we complain that they don't do what we want them to do. Like, you've now given someone a leadership position because it's granted and earned. It's just granted and given. So you now have a leadership position, and if you don't do what I want you to do, I'll get mad at you. But I've allowed you to be the leader. Like, I don't understand it doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
It's like I voted for a certain mayor of a town, but now the mayor is doing something I don't want them to do. It's like, well, you voted for them. Like, you've given them this opportunity, but now they're not doing what you want them to. So now you're all upset. Like, we do this in the workplace all the time. It's like,
yes.
What do you want them to do? Like, that's what I don't understand. It's almost as if I want to be the leader and I'm not, so therefore I'm going to complain that I'm not.
Right.
But is that really their responsibility, Chris? Like,
well, let's see is like what you said to me before. It's like us really we are innately in ourselves. Either we know it or we don't know it. We actually literally give up our power.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah,
and if we give up our power, then when we look to those people who is going to do said things and we don't hold them to that standard, but we are thinking they're going to do what they're going to do, then we're looking at ourselves saying, I elected them or we put them in that position, but that's not what I got, you know?
But lots of times leaders are created and you don't even have a say over it.
Yeah.
You know, because I know that where I used to work, there was a leadership change, and I asked somebody who stepped up, you know, who took the person's place, and they said, well, it was so-and-so. She didn't really want it, but she sure is basking in it now, you know, and I'm like, okay. But, you know, they're like, you know, we would have picked somebody else, but we didn't have any control over it. So a lot of times people are dealing with people that they did not see as a leader that aren't truly leaders.
Yeah, I mean, like, as you mentioned with power, Chris, like, yeah, we give you power and then we get upset when we don't have the power. Like, students do that in a college classroom or a classroom. They give the power to the teacher, assuming the teacher knows what they're talking about. And they give up their right to learn. And then when they don't learn, they say, oh, teacher didn't teach me.
Right.
And what if it's not the teacher's job to teach? See?
Right.
So that's why I push back whenever you bring these up with what leaders are supposed to do or not. I just find it asinine that we do this stuff to ourselves. It's like you can't have it both ways in many ways. Like, you're searching for a perfect leader as opposed to saying, who do we have and what's the objective? Like, is the objective for the leader to make sure that, like, they hold your hand through the workday, or is their job to, like, make sure that whatever the business is doing is successful? Like,
leaders shouldn't be micromanaging, Brian.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not the role of a leader.
No, I agree. I mean, it just.
That's
I
just
don't know.
a lot of times if leaders or managers are micromanaging, what the person in the end wants to do is, well, why don't you just bloody well do it yourself?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's annoying.
Yes.
Unnecessary.
Right.
Give people instructions or directions. Here's the outline of what your job entails. So, you run with the ball. And a lot of times they'll come up with better ways to do it anyway. So leave them alone. Why are you
Let them do it?
As long as they're getting done what needs to get done, why do you care how they go from A to B? Like, what difference does it make?
Yeah, I mean, there's something like 10% of the people in the country or the world are entrepreneurs. I mean, a lot of people, 90% of the workers aren't. I mean, if you're that upset with a leader or a manager, you don't like what they're telling you to do, go start your own job.
Right.
Go do it yourself. Like,
exactly.
I mean, there's no one's holding your feet to the fire, so to speak. And to Carla's point, don't leave a job just to leave it. I mean, you want to have other things and so forth. I mean, it's like giving advice, go follow your passion. Well, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I'm not going to make a living doing them. So that would be kind of a pretty bad advice.
But turn that negative energy into positive energy and build something for yourself that you can walk away from it.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Or find something better.
But I see a lot of people who complain about their job and saying there's no growth opportunity, yet if you looked at the job doesn't have growth in the job. Like, that's not what it's designed for. Like, it's designed to fulfill a task, and that's what it is, and that's okay. But I think we believe in this propaganda that's been going around social media and society for so long that, if you believe you can fly right up until you jump and you can't fly, right? I mean, it's, we've been trained to believe, hey, if you work hard, everything will work out, or, if you're nice, or, if you smile well, or you get a good grade. It's like, there's still an aspect of like, look, I can sit and manifest all day long happiness, but if I don't take action, nothing's gonna happen. Like,
exactly.
And I think that's where people miss it. And they, it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people about their jobs and work and what they like and don't like. When you look at athletes and celebrities and movie stars and all these people who seemingly live beautiful lives. But what you only see like the 5% of the stuff that they probably love to do, which is to actually perform. You never see the 95% of the stuff that they hate doing, going to meetings, reading contracts, practicing, traveling, going from hotel to hotel, going on a red carpet, going to this dinner,
doing junkets, all that stuff.
Well, Tiger Woods' training schedule is a good example of that before the accident.
People believe that if you find your passion, you'll be happier. You should find your passion. But there's many different passion switches, and you don't need one of them. You can like what you do, you can like what you do, you can like how you do it, and you can like who you do it for. You don't need all of it. Right? I mean, everyone has a job, but I can almost guarantee if you went through everyone's job, there's probably more than 50% of that job that people don't like doing.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't have to like every aspect of it. How many people like making phone calls all day? I mean, I was talking to someone and she said she had 10 Zoom calls in a day. I'm like, why?
Wow.
Yeah, that's part of the job though now. Like, is that really something that you look forward to? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's what I've told, and I think we've talked about this. People like the idea of stuff, but actually doing it different. Right. So
well, it's amazing when you talk about that there's some jobs there's no growth in it. And when you actually ask somebody when they're complaining about the growth, you say, well, what would you like to do to, what would be the next step at your company? Is there any room for growth?
Right.
And they go, no. and you just want to say, so What are you going to do to change that? If there's no room for growth, what are you going to do?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Not every business and not every job is designed perfectly. I mean,
Right.
You go, so what, now what?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's a job.
What are you going to do about it? You know, you can't complain. You complain about it till the cows come home, but so what, now what? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I work in M&A, and there's times, and there have been times where I could be traveling days on end, going from here to here to travel to here to here. Yeah, it's great when you close a deal and you're successful with something, but I don't know. I don't really enjoy hanging out in Houston Airport for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I can only have barbecue so much. You know, I mean,
Exactly.
like there's always things to it that we never take into consideration. Like, you know, you mentioned, Chris, about being a leader.
Right.
Everyone wants to be in a leadership position right up until they actually have to make a decision. And then you know what they do? They do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Because making a decision isn't always easy. Like, we never put it into perspective that maybe the person who's managing or leading us has never had to make a decision that they're having to make at that moment.
Or make that choice.
Yes. So
Make the right choice.
Yeah, there's a wonderful economist, Dan Relay, and he had a TED Talk many years ago. And the side of his face is kind of burned. He had a very bad accident, and he was in the hospital for months with rapid. And he said he used to get petrified every time the nurses would come to change his rapid. And he got really annoyed at them that how don't they know how painful it is for him, and why would they do this for him? And afterwards, he had talked to the nurse, and the nurse said, "Do you realize how difficult it was for me to have to come knowing that this hurt you, to have to change your bandages all the time?" Like, we never look at it from, they're going through something too. Yeah. I mean, so it's a weird way that we go about it. You know, it's predictable, but can you stop yourself and say, you know what? Maybe what I'm feeling over here is different than what Chris is feeling, or Carla. And maybe we need to not judge.
I think about that when I think of people dying, and I remember when my mom died of cancer in 2008, and I remember spending time with her right before she died, and even to this day, I mean, I know we're all going to die, and our parents are going to die, and before we do, and you know, whatnot. I cannot imagine a parent losing a child, but as much as it hurts those that are surviving to have somebody gone because they died, imagine what it's like to be dying and knowing that one day you're going to die, and accepting it. And think of this tonight when you lay in bed tonight. Imagine if you knew you were going to die pretty soon. You didn't know exactly when it was going to be, and you're trying to go to sleep at night wondering, am I going to wake up tomorrow? And what is that going to be like? So to me, that just gives me another perspective of there's two sides of that
Of the reality
going on.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and that's the way I view it. Every day is a gift. Every day above ground is another gift, and everything.
So as much as I hate that my mom's not around anymore, and my dad's getting older, and you know, he may be having thoughts of that himself. It's got to be hard to know, will I be here tomorrow? And I know that, I mean, I'm healthy. I don't have any issues going on or anything like that. But I just had two friends. It was her birthday. They were going down to Macon, south of Atlanta, and they hydroplaned in water and hit the middle cement barrier. They both had fractured sternums, and he's in the brain unit at one of the hospitals. You know, that tomorrow is never promised, but to know that you know, you might have cancer and you were going to be dying, and you didn't know whether it was going to be tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday. And going to sleep that night, as much as I hate the fact that my mother's gone, what she was going through those last final days is nothing in comparison. I have nothing to complain about.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all joining us today.
I love that Brian always brings perspective to everything.
And we're worried about a toxic work environment.
Thanks for sharing.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So
because
thank you
mean
all
people suck.
That's Brian for you.
Yep.
So, like
Yes,
I said,
is.
I'm so thankful and honored to have each and every single one of you on the live stream today. I appreciate each and every single one of you, Carla, Sandy, Melinda, Brian. And if you just can stay on just a couple of minutes, I'd like to introduce you to Brian and everything like that. So just let's hang on a couple of minutes, Melinda. That'd be great.
All right.
And like I said, everyone who's been watching, thank you for watching and taking the time to be with us today. And just remember, all our live streams will be on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. And this week is going to be a unique week. We'll be actually streaming on YouTube on our Bringing Humanity Together YouTube channel. So if you're there, please, we love to hear from you there too as well. So you guys have a great and wonderful Wednesday. Make it your day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.